This is Defenders TV Podcast, episode 101, where we're talking about Iron Fist, season 1, episode 12, Bar the Big Boss. Welcome back, fellow Defenders, to episode 101 of Defenders TV Podcast, where we're talking about Iron Fist, season 1, episode 12, Bar the Big Boss. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
I'm your other host, Chris.
And I am rounding out the group as number 3, John. Haven't we done a 101 before?
We have done a 101 before.
We've done a few 101s. This in theory should be like 505.
Possibly,
maybe, almost.
Absolutely. Well, Bar the Big Boss. Who's the big boss?
I know.
Is the big question on the big episode finale.
Yeah, we're on our penultimate episode, and it does feel like we still don't know who our big boss is.
Well, it can only be Sigourney.
Well, possibly. But this is our spoiler-filled discussion of episode 12 of Iron Fist. Hopefully you've been listening along with our podcast, and hopefully you've watched all 12 of these episodes of Iron Fist. If you haven't, pause the podcast, go off and have a watch of episode 12 and come back to us. It'll be worth it. It's a pretty good episode. But we're here to talk about that episode. You guys all happy to kick into it straight away?
I think we should.
Absolutely.
Excellent. This episode is written by Scott Reynolds. It's the second episode that he's done this season. He did 8 Diagram Dragon Pam earlier on in the season. He used to work on Dexter with Scott Book, the showrunner, but he's also done 4 episodes of Jessica Jones in the past, so a good bit of Defender's legacy coming into this episode. In addition to that, we've got Andy Goddard in the director's chair for this episode. He directed Daredevil, Regrets Only. He did Luke Cage episode Manifest, and he's got 2 episodes of Marvel's Punisher. I think that's the first person I've heard confirmed for Marvel's Punisher coming up. So, quite cool. Another one of our Defender directors, and 2 people from the Defenders in the director and writing chair this time.
Yeah, no, and I think I have to say Scott is almost on alum at this point, and we know he's a gold standard. When we find out he's writing an episode, especially he did WWJD, which is still one of my favourites almost now. I've gone back and watched it a few times, and 8 Diagram Dragon Palm was our favourite hatchet scene.
Oh, that's true. Yep.
So yeah, you can see there's a legacy and lineage in terms of his writing, and especially his description probably of certain battle scenes.
Very true.
I can suspect now that they have ordered in the hundreds of oil tankers of blood for the 2 episodes of The Punisher that he's going to deliver. It will be like Titus Andronicus at the Globe, where they used, I don't know, tons of blood.
That's true. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for this episode?
Sure. Ward, restrained and coming down from his addiction, is visited by 2 people at Birch Psychiatric Hospital, one of whom offers him a deal he simply can't refuse. As he escapes both his physical and mental confines, he heads straight for Harold's penthouse, where the Meacham family dysfunctionally reacquaint with each other. As Ward, gun in hand, demands that Joy come with him to escape Harold, Bakuto and his operatives arrive. Ward's deal with Bakuto quickly heads south as Joy is shot and seriously wounded, and Harold is threatened in a more permanent form of death unless Danny hands himself over to the Hand. Just before Harold is decapitated, Danny arrives and is taken by Bakuto. As they leave the penthouse, however, Danny, Davos and Colleen spring their surprise, taking down Bakuto's operatives as he flees the scene. They make chase and Colleen is forced to confront and battle her old sensei, but it is Davos who strikes the killing thrust at Bakuto, to the astonishment of Danny. As they face off against one another, Danny states that he wishes to be both Rand and the Iron Fist, forcing Davos to depart back to Kunlun. However, in all the commotion, Bakuto's body has gone, and Harold, now at the hospital with Joy and Ward, engineers another setup, this time against Danny, as the dojo is attacked by DEA agents.
I think we should crack into our top 5 points. The first one really has to be the visitations to Ward in the Birch Psychiatric Hospital, isn't it?
Definitely. This scene, I thought, firstly, it was great to have Ward back. it was even better to see him strapped up and not able to go anywhere. And then thirdly, I think the visitations as well, you know? I mean, the first one with his father coming towards him.
Creepy.
Really, really creepy, really kind of just melts into his own psychosis of what his father effectively has done to his state of mind. Really loved it. In particular, I absolutely loved the hairdo, sort of proper bedhead from Ward with that kind of long slick back hairstyle that becomes completely like crazy looking, which is absolutely perfect for these scenes in the psychiatric hospital. But it's really intense with his dad coming towards him, kind of making threats, pulling the knife out of his stomach, looking to effectively kill Ward. And of course, this is all just his hallucinations, but then getting, a real visitor with a deal in the form of Bakuto was pretty cool. And I kind of like this idea of him, doing this, because he's so desperate, is Ward, both to get out the hospital, but also to get rid of his dad. And it's a nice tee up for what comes after as well. But I kind of like Bakuto, that same calmness to his voice, reassuring and all that, like he did with Colleen, like he does with Danny, like he did with Harold after he had captured Gao, I must say, and I said this in the last episode, and again, I have to say it here, I think, Bakuto, I'm absolutely loving as that kind of smooth criminal, in a sense. And again, to have Tom Pelphrey back as Ward, things always just get that little bit crazy, but in a good way when he's back. I mean, he does Unhinged very well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for me, the standout part of this is the actual the piece you didn't cover. It's the heroin is actually super heroin. It's souped up, and the withdrawals of that are huge apparently, and can only be cured by this small vial that Bakuto gives him.
Yeah.
Does it have a red cape, do you reckon?
I don't think it's that souped up.
Because it has an S type thing on it.
It does.
DC Marvel crossover.
No, this is interesting. And the offering of this antidote, the only antidote available, giving it to Rand Enterprises, that they can save the world.
Yeah, I was interested. The offer itself was to Rand to be able to have this drug and sell it on the market effectively to cure everybody that's been that is addicted to Gao's drugs. Like, that's the offer there. It's a business offer. It's not just for Ward to get over his symptoms, which is what I thought it was originally. They were saying, we have drugs like this and much more. If you partner with us, your company's going to be going sky high through the roof here, basically, which is quite a cool offer. It is quite interesting that, we had heard earlier on in the season when these drugs were being sold to the market that there are no bad side effects to them, is what we were told. They would have the best possible effects and you wouldn't be hooked on them. You'd be able to take them, get all the good and none of the bad. Looks like there is some bad if Ward's anything to go by.
Yeah, no, and I think this is the interesting part here that we're going to get is how this is going to play out further. Because we know there is mass amount of this drug, of the heroin, out in the streets of Hell's Kitchen, of New York City. So how is this going to link in? How is this going to go further? Especially when you think about it, though. The interesting bit is we have one episode left. Let's put this out flat. I don't think this will get resolved now.
No.
I think this will be a Defender's line where potentially you end up seeing that a number of standard human beings, kind of your casual run-of-the-mill people, businessmen like Ward, are addicted to this, and there's actually more of a side effect. And that could be the Hand's diabolical plan, is to turn people into these zombie-like, heroin-addicted people.
Sounds like Joker planned, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I hadn't really thought of that, because I mean, I did kind of think that this was just You know, like Bakuto said previously, Madame Gao's all stick, no carrot. So I just kind of, this was the carrot, and that whether it will go any further. But that's an interesting take, definitely. And I mean, I think the other good thing about this scene is that, you know, it's following on direct from, obviously, episode 11. But in a sense, what happens is, you know, Harold's trying to draw Bakuto out, but Bakuto doesn't go to Harold. He doesn't go there. He goes straight to his son and makes this offer to completely undermine. Really nice little touch in regards to how Bakuto views everything. Now, Davos and Danny kind of left their post to some extent, and they never saw him leave.
True.
You know, it's not to go straight for Harold. It's to go at him through his son. And of course, it just tees up so much, because we do see that Bakuto, despite his smooth talking, like, he doesn't hold his word.
Yes. He holds the first part of it, which is getting Ward out of the psychiatric hospital and taking him down to the Meachams for their reunion, which is our second point.
But that's a means to an end, but the end is very different from what he promises.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we come to the Meacham family reunion, which is also called Hell on Earth.
Yes, definitely.
You know, like guns, raised voices, blood.
Yeah.
Poor Joy. She was the only one that got a splatter in there.
And I think Chris mentioned in about episode 8 when he was saying about how Harold coming back to life, he was saying, you know, there's going to be a point when someone's going to get killed in front of Joy. She's going to see her father for what he is, and that's going to destroy her as a person. It's pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you actually see it on screen, that what actually happens to her is she's standing in her dress just after talking to her father. 3 guys get shot in front of her, and her entire body, face, head are covered in blood, and nobody else in the room has any blood on them at all. It's like, poor Joy. This is her first entry into the proper criminality of all of these characters, and it's her covered head to toe in blood.
Oh yeah, and it's not even it's other people's blood.
Yeah,
it's
for
crazy.
A while.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
I've been a bit negative about this story arc,
right?
And I just wanted to come in now and go, I bought into the Meacham now. The Meacham storyline, I think it was good at the beginning. It took way too long to get where it's gone to.
Right.
But now it is a good... I bought into this as a premise, as a storyline. They wrapped it up neatly, which I enjoyed. And I think that's the bit. I've been going on for quite a while saying, well, hold on, no, Joy... Okay, they didn't have that Joy... Harold discussion that I wanted on or off screen.
Yeah.
But they did it they closed it in such a memorable, remarkable way.
Definitely.
That I'm okay with that. Like, they've closed that off. Now, could they have done it faster? Yes.
Yeah.
They could have done this really over the course of 6 episodes.
Definitely. I mean, I would say there's a few things they could have done a bit faster across the series, of which I think this could have been condensed. Definitely agree on that. I mean, but I think the one of the great things here is just the dynamic between the Meachams. It's the idea that, you know, Ward in desperation has gone to Bakuto. All of a sudden, the bargain has not been upheld. And, you know, Bakuto comes in. Ward obviously has expected to leave before he arrives. There's been the violence. There's been the gun thrown around. Joy is not particularly on his side at that moment in time. No. And I think Harold deals with it so well. I mean, I know you were saying that you're going to see Harold for who he is, but in effect, he's not the one doing anything here. He's coming across as someone who's helped. And in a sense, Ward is shoring up that argument at one point where he says, you know, yeah, the hospital have told me I need to reconnect with my sister. So it's Harold is disguising what he's done really well, and Ward, whether intentionally or just purely to try and get Joy away, I'm sure, sort of kind of supports that. And then, of course, it all kind of crumbles a bit, and Joy is there kind of like looking at Ward going, what are you doing? And it should be the other way around. And that dynamic, that manipulation, but I suspect that's such a powerful family. It's probably happened all their lives.
Quite a few times.
But it's just such a great dynamic to see them kind of at one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, his death soliloquy, and like as he thought he was going to die, was brilliant.
Oh.
He basically tore Ward a new one and propped himself up to joy.
Yeah.
He's
So
like,
good.
I cared about you. It should have been you.
Yeah.
So, literally, he thought he was about to die.
Mm-hmm.
He was ready to die. And to that point, he was destroying the siblings. Still to that point. I was like, no, that's commitment.
Absolutely.
Like, you think he would have gone, I was just messing with the two of you. I've always hated you kids. No, he was like, well, if I'm going to go, sorry, Ward, I'm going to destroy you.
Don't ever trust him. It's, you know, it's pretty phenomenal for a father like this. Who's had this guy do everything for him for 12 years to go, I dedicated my entire life to you and you're the biggest disappointment I've ever had. Joy, don't trust him. Don't ever trust him in anything he ever does. That's phenomenal statement from a father to a son. And fantastic. I have to say, David Wenham in this show, we've mentioned him so many times. He really is such a standout in this show. Every scene that he has is a great moment where he tells Joy to shut up and then apologizes for it to Bakuto. Which is, sorry for the outburst. Sorry, you guys go ahead with what you're doing. Just really good, really good little moments from David Wenham in this
That
show.
was awesome as they're sort of taking Danny away, and it's like Joy still wants to try and help, you know, still has that connection, that childhood connection with Danny, and Harold's just, no, shut up, you go. Really good. I mean, I also like the fact that, you know, Ward's sort of deal, like the fact that, you know, Joy is shot, it's a clean one, but she can bleed out. You know, all of a sudden you've got the complication of Danny, that he's got to come over whilst Harold's on his knees being shown this katana. I love that moment where Bakuto just kind of holds it up and says, you know, this has killed kings, princes, masters, and who would have thought it would be used to kill a businessman.
Yeah.
I just loved how it gave it that theatre in that penthouse, which is such a great set or actual place.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in terms of the Art Deco and how it is.
Just kind of to close this point out, am I the only one who thought Harold was going to lose it at some point? We've seen him literally, the rage and anger of the zombified Harold take over on a number of occasions for a lot less.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised they didn't go there. It's like, I'm happy they didn't. Now, I'm not complaining about it. This was lovely, pretty well wrapped up, this part of it.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised they didn't have him, like, as he said his last words, jump on Bakuto. And like, because he knows he can't die. Can't be hurt in a conventional sense.
Yeah.
He just, I was pretty sure he would just kind of like take the sword and do that kind of fall on your sword type thing where he kind of pulls himself, he sheaths the sword inside himself through his gut and goes up to Bakuto. Kind of that style, because he's in theory indestructible. I was expecting something rage monstery zombie-ified.
I know what you mean.
It was great.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely still got to happen, actually. But I think he's still playing the role here. I think the fact that Joy is critically injured, I think with Ward there, I still kind of thought he was acting. But then when it came to the crunch, where Bakuto does the kind of practice swipe right across his face, which I thought was really cool. I was half expecting his head to slowly slide off his torso. Yeah, I kind of thought he might do something like that, definitely. And I still think that's got to kind of come. I think Joy needs to see her father for what he is. I think Ward knows that, and it's driven him crazy.
Yeah.
But doesn't want to destroy his memory for Joy. It's definitely got to come, I reckon.
Yeah, well, we still have 1 hour left.
Yeah. Just in the fact that you mentioned that, I love Bakuto's threat to Harold when he swipes the sword in front of his face, which is and you don't want to move because you definitely don't want me trying this twice. You don't want me to hit your neck twice, just once. Then you'll be dead. If you move at all, it'll be twice. Really like that one. Next point, guys.
I think so.
I think we have one of the most beautiful looking scenes that we have in this season. After I watched this part of the episode, I just thought when the location scouts were out and choosing the atrium as the lead in to the building for Harold Meacham, where he lives in his penthouse, they must have just looked at this and said, yeah, there's definitely going to be a fight in here. There has to be a fight in here. This is the perfect location. It is so beautiful. The fight between Danny and Bakuto and his men, and then Colleen and Davos as they arrive and come in and support him. It's beautifully shot. It's a fantastic fight. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this for me has been the fight of the season. This really was. This beautifully shot, beautifully choreographed. It was just like, and again, there was this one part where there was this double split screen. I was just now, and you would in any other show. Not any other Marvel Netflix show, but any other terrestrial TV cable show, right? You would expect them to almost they would jump, oh, this is cool, we're going to overuse it. And they would use it to the point where you're like, okay, just give me a single, give me the one. Come on. It was brilliant. And then, but it wasn't like we knew they were going to win. There was a couple parts in this fight where Davos nearly got stabbed. Colleen
she got a sword in through the arm.
That was cool.
There was a point where I was wondering whether they were going to switch up her story with Misty Knights now that she's taken Danny. I thought they were going to switch it up and just she was going to lose the arm and get the metal arm replacement in the future. I thought that's the way they were going with it because they swapped up the two characters a bit. It's like, oh, that's a pretty deep old cut from a sword,
Yeah, I can't agree enough. This fight was fantastic, and I think it's followed by, in terms of atmosphere and spectacle as to the location, I think it's followed a very close second later on, if not maybe equaled. But this, I love the split screen stuff going on. I thought some of the moves from Bakuto and Danny in their fight were like incredible. All the flipping,
so good,
and so on.
It's just using the walls and using the things that are
absolutely
around them. Yeah.
I like the idea as well that he managed to turn his iron fist on, but then lost it again. Just showing that kind of ephemeralness of his power at this moment. Just that, he wasn't able to maybe bring it on when he needed it most, which was kind of interesting.
Struck me as odd about it is that he lit it up, it was ready to go, and he aimed for Bakuto, and it went halfway through the air.
Yeah,
almost.
It's like the Millennium Falcon hyperdrive.
No, but it was almost like as if it was Bakuto that was doing something.
So
you know what I mean? It was like
that
it burnt out in
That's
the air on
true,
the way to
actually,
Bakuto, more than Danny losing the power, but
yeah, so I think I don't know, we can talk about this a bit later on. We kind of briefly discussed in the last episode. I think it's coming to that his anger is directly affecting his ability to channel his chi.
Right.
So he was like, I need to destroy Bakuto. So he very much aims to aiming for the head.
Right.
His iron fist.
Yeah.
And that anger stopped him.
Interesting.
And
that's I think
emotion. Right.
I think that's a really good point actually, Chris, because as well, when he turns on the iron fist to escape from the handcuffs, he's closing his eyes, he's meditating, he's calming himself down. That's really interesting. And also, even if we just go back to the second episode, he talks about the calm of the battle in terms of channeling the punches and so on to actually calm him rather than from a position of aggression. So that would really make sense. There was one moment in this fight as well where I just wondered whether it was when Davos was kind of grabbing for knives and using the knives to kill the hand operatives, whether he was going to go after Colleen.
Right. Interesting.
Because that they had that bust up on the corner before all of this, where Davos is finding it really difficult to understand Danny's motivations for being in New York, but also for being with Colleen as a former hand member. So he really doesn't trust it, and I just wondered if there was going to be some kind of double cross here.
Oh, my hand slipped.
Absolutely, but you know when you're the last of your mates that had a chastity vow to sleep with a girl, you know the embarrassment that comes from that. You know, I think it's a bit of that. But yeah, no, this scene really did show me why I love Iron Fist more than some other people probably do. I'm a huge fan. I mentioned it early on in the season. I didn't go to comic books for my kung fu, so that's why I didn't read much Iron Fist or Shang-Chi or any of those characters. I went to actual kung fu movies from the 70s, some from every country in the world. And the big difference between 70s martial arts movies is that generally you have trained martial artists going at it in scenes that they don't cut away from. It's a static camera usually watching a scene, which is the kind of fight style that they're using throughout Iron Fist, much more so than the kind of jump cuts that we saw in the other shows that we have, even through the Defenders, all the other shows that we've seen over the many, many years, all the Arrow and Flash and all of those shows where they're using trickery to show an actor fighting against other actors. This show seems to employ a lot more martial artists fighting against martial artists, or people trained to do the martial arts in the shows. I know there are stunt people working on it, but there's a lot less cutting away from the actors. So it does feel to me much more like a 70s kung fu movie, and that's the style they've gone for, rather than the kind of MTV jump cuts, as we'd call them, that kind of came around from The Matrix onwards.
I'm going to agree with you on this, but I know probably our fellow defenders, maybe one or two may be screaming at this point, because there is the gif that's going around of the twins fight, the two brothers, the Russians.
Yeah.
That, unfortunately, during that fight, within 30 seconds, they had something like 56 cuts.
Right.
Now, you can understand, look, that's fine, but I think you're right. What they have done is majority of the other fights, there's not been that many jump cuts or hard cuts, or it was literally that one scene, which is fair because they needed to show Finn Jones from multiple directions, and he's publicly said it on Hollywood Reporter, or I think it was an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, maybe Vanity Fair or something,
right, that
he only started training 2 weeks before production started, whereas you've seen like some of the other shows, they get months.
Yeah.
They go to camps.
And I think that's the point as to why it stood out so much in this particular episode, probably is because you had him, and you had Davos, and you had Colleen and Bakuto, all major characters in the show, all fighting and doing some fantastic martial arts moves. And they all seemed pretty competent.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure somebody's going to contact me and go, actually, that was all done by stunt people, and they just put wigs on them to make them look like the actors, of course. But it did feel much more like what I've seen in 70s movies, rather than things like, you know, extreme close-ups on the actors, taking with blood coming out, and it all being edited really closely together, so you don't actually see a punch, or the shaky cam style that's used so often to cover up fight sequences. This didn't feel like that style.
No, and you could assume during production, this was probably towards the tail end of production, this scene. They probably would have kept this quite towards the end of when they were filming.
Yeah.
So this would explain potentially why, yes, they were more comfortable instead of some of the earlier fights, where Finn Jones had 8 to 9 to maybe 13 weeks worth of filming, however long the production was, and he was more competent, more comfortable. Yeah. And all three of them were more comfortable at this style of fighting with their stunt choreography, their stunt coordinators, because a lot of people would kind of probably refer back to the CW shows of like the Arrow and Supergirl and stuff like that. Now, they're all in their third, or going into their third, they're in their 5th, 6th year.
With 22 episodes a season as well,
So these guys are forever there. They're like, and like Kevin Smith talks about this in one of I think his final original third, he was 3 episodes in, but he was talking about the kind of this exact topic. And yet they are living it for months of a year. And like they're a lot of them are 3, 4, 5, 6 years in to production. So like Stephen Amell, he on Facebook he'll put up his regime of when he's kind of doing all his stunt choreography and his workouts. but like he works out every day,
Yeah.
and does stunt coordination like every day while he's filming, and he puts all this up. And you've got to understand, these guys, when they were running towards a deadline, so Iron Fist was filmed in quite a short amount of time. So I think the point you're making up, and the reason they could do this 70 style, which they probably wanted from the beginning, was okay, we've now got everyone more comfortable with taking punches.
I also think they were aiming for these scenes, and we're going to go on to the other one in a second, but I think these are the ones that they probably were training for from right at the beginning. There are other scenes that are in the show, like the fight that's with the hatchet man in the hallway, which probably didn't require as much work to train for that scene.
No, but that was still very static camera work, and it did the split screen as well.
True.
So, like, that hallway scene, I think is similar in that regards. Maybe with the Vashenko brothers in that scene, it could just be director preference. Like, it was directed by RZA.
Yeah.
He may have wanted to capture that more jump around action of the MTV kind of jump cut. To do that. Plus, it was also going into Gao. You had an extra 2 main characters with it being brothers. So I just think it's probably more to do with the director preference.
Yeah, probably. And of course, in that episode, we also had 2 of the big fights, which you probably have to differentiate out a lot more against 2 other people. So we're going to go on to the other big fights of this episode, because there's quite a few.
3 fights in this as well, really.
Yeah, we had the atrium fight, obviously. And then the next big fight, really, is master versus pupil, or sensei versus master, I suppose, because Colleen in herself is a master. We see Colleen versus Bakuto.
I love this. This was everything, every sword fight I wanted as a kid. We even got a broken sword. Like, come on. It was like cool. They gave it all to us.
Not just a broken sword, but one of the coolest looking scenes I have seen in such a long time. As the sword breaks in the air, Colleen flips around and kicks it through the leg of Bakuto is fantastic. I was just
awesome.
I was punching the air for that one.
And I loved the setting as well. For exactly the same reasons as the fight in the atrium. This scene, it just felt grand as well, underneath the arches coming down from those steps, and with the fountain in the background and with the rain. It was just so cool. And I love the fact that, Bakuto got his comeuppance from Colleen. It was absolutely fantastic fight. And that sort of, that kick of the blade, fantastic. Fantastic. Really, really good. But we see here then Davos finishing him off. Like, despite everything he has been saying, Danny decides not to take Davos's life.
Absolutely, and this is Marvel's shorthand for bad guy, isn't it? If you kill someone at the end of a fight when everybody else is giving you an option not to kill them, that's kind of shorthand for bad guy, right?
We're gonna go with that. I actually like this. This is a trope. Let's be fair about this. The good guys don't kill. They want to bring him to jail. The bad guy kills. And you put a bad guy or some other person like in it. They usually do with an innocent is going to die, and the hero will try and kill themselves. Just to save the innocent, whereas the bad guy or the soon-to-be bad guy will just look after himself. Like, that's the usual. This was just a different variation on it, but I like this.
Absolutely.
This is, it's stock, it's standard, but it was good because this felt like a finale to me. Like, this was a finale in my head. It was a 12-episode season. I don't know where they're going to go with 13. We can get to that later.
Yes, we will.
But for me, this was, okay, great. They're creating, and we'll get to it, the Davos, but they're closing down the Bakuto arc. And it's perfect. But...
Or are they?
But I liked it in that it's like, we need to take him to jail. And that's what a lot of people have been screaming, say, about any of the Netflix shows. And any superhero show. It's like, why don't you get the cops involved? And that's what, with Luke Cage, we had that great scene and we had that great theme running through. It was like, the cops are like, well, we can't deal with these super powered vigilantes and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
This was the same. It was like, okay, no, we can still, like, they would rather kill him than, and would rather do other things than take a leader ahead of the hand to and expose him for what he is and bring him to jail.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Because that, can you imagine the story behind that? Like, it would be fantastic, the next part, which is, like, Bakuto is on trial. Mm-hmm. And then you have Matt Murdock being the public defense against him, trying to put him away. And it was just like, yes, they just killed him. Okay. But they then killed him, which led to the next beautiful fight.
Yeah, I mean, here we have it all spill out between Danny and Davos, really. And I think I'm so glad that this kind of confrontation occurred between the two of them. And we get Danny asserting what and who he wants to be. I think, you know, he is the Iron Fist, and that's his destiny. He has defeated Shao Lao, but at the same time, his place, his home, his connections have been in New York as well, for a long time, and he wants to reconnect with them. And I suspect we might see him go through periods of guilt with Kunlun, who knows? But, you know, here, he's told Davos now, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. And I mean, ultimately, it's, will you accept that? And to an extent, he has to charge up the Iron Fist against Davos for him to finally realise that, in effect, he's wasting his time. And I'm glad there was no kind of real danger for Davos. And I think it really leads to that kind of really good separation between the two, as obviously I presume Davos is heading back to Kunlun.
Yeah.
And following on from Colleen and Bakuto's, it really felt quite epic, this whole scene around the fountain and under the arches.
Yeah, totally agree.
To be honest, and I think, like you say, Chris, it being almost a season finale, so it'll be interesting now to see episode 13, what it is they're going to do. The only other kind of point I'd make on this is that, again, and I think we've mentioned it in a few, this being a bit earlier obviously doesn't fit in with this kind of timeline on the story, but you just kind of feel something like this around episode 8 or 9. You've suddenly got 4 episodes to further explore this. Is it going to get wrapped up really quickly? You know, I think the thing with Bakuto's body, is it that he as well is like Harold and can revive, or did in some kind of comedic fashion 4 hand operatives tiptoe out whilst they were fighting, pick him up and take him back, maybe for revival or to get revived for the first time? You know, is he dead? Is he alive?
I just have a vision of 4 like hand operatives and someone going, "He's behind you! They're behind you!"
Absolutely, but I did think at this moment of fighting between Danny and Davos, with Colleen looking on, I was half expecting her to get a katana through her as well. Because I was thinking that Bakuto is not going to still be there after this fight. And lo and behold, he wasn't. And I wondered, because he still had his katana, whether that was just going to be a slice and dice moment for poor Colleen. Where's he gone? Has he gone on his own? Has he been taken by someone? You know, will he come back? Is he alive?
It feels like it'd be really weird if members of the Hand just came in and took his body and left without engaging the people that killed him, you know? So it does feel like he's most likely gotten out of this situation himself. Like he is someone that's come back from the dead and has escaped himself. Because it just, you're right, it would be really weird if in the background of a scene you see some guys tiptoe in, grab the body and tiptoe back out again.
Exactly, my point for this is that, so Madame Gao is a couple of 100 years old, and we know Nobu was brought back from the dead. So we can pretty much assume to be a head of one of the arms on the hand, you are blessed with the ability, or blessed with this gift of being or like immortal, the immortal weapon of the hand, if you want to call it that.
Interesting.
So that's why when they didn't chop his head off, I was like, Yep, he's gonna run. Yeah, there we go. I was expecting, but like John said, I was expecting that katana scene through the back as she stood there.
But I like that about the scenes because it does leave them tense and unexpected. That is Colleen going to get damaged here? Like I felt there was a real chance that this was going to happen because Bakuto, the hand, they're so uncompromising, and he's made his decision. So I was thinking there was a real possibility of that here, and I think that really added to Danny and Davos's fight, because even though that kind of gets resolved, I'm not saying that they're the best of friends still as such between those two, but it could have been that, Danny has made his point, he's been successful doing it, and then, the person who he wants to be with is taken away. I felt there was a real danger here. For
me, this was, we talked about how this is the origin of the Iron Fist, the origin of Davos. This was perfect for me. This was the perfect way. This is the only way I wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
And I'll go into the origin of of Danny and the Iron Fist, because for me we've talked about the emotions part, and like they were shoving them down, and that was how he could only use the Iron Fist when he was not ruining full of emotion.
Right.
And he hadn't accepted. He had too much emotion. Like, was he the Iron Fist of New York? Was he like the defender of Kunlun? Was he the weapon for against the hand? Was he ever allowed to love? Blah blah. It's all this, but at the end of this fight, I think he turned on the power. I think he's now accepted that he is the Iron Fist, not just for Kunlun. He's the Iron Fist for the world.
Right.
That is he is the protector of the world against the hand, not just Kunlun. And that acceptance has decreased, or the amount of whatever stress, emotion, and that has allowed him again. And he's accepted his love of Colleen. He's forgiven her. All the points have come together to kind of that you are going to be the Iron Fist. You are going to get emotional, but you're going to learn to deal and act with that emotion, and you can fight with emotion and still call the Iron Fist emotion.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yes.
Very cool.
But then see Davos run with tail between his legs was even better.
Yeah, as John mentioned, is the only thing I would like is for this particular fight to have happened earlier on in the season, because unfortunately this could mean that we don't see Davos now in episode 13, because that's resolved, that he's now left, effectively. If this had happened in the show in episode 8, you'd be expecting another fight between the two of them, again, a bigger fight in episode 13. I can't see that the two of them are going to go up against each other next episode, so we could have lost Davos now after 2 episodes.
And whether Davos can actually get back to Kunlun.
So there's 2 parts of that. They're either, you're right, they're either going to do that where Davos is stuck outside of Kunlun and he becomes so enraged that that's the straw that broke the camel, or the Davos back, if you want to call it that. It's the one that breaks or ends their friendship.
Yeah.
Or he gets back in and then he goes after Shaolan the Undying.
Yeah.
And gets some additional powers.
Right.
And comes back. He finds a way outside of those 15 years. In the comic books, there is ways for people to pass between outside of the 15 years, and I think they could potentially use one of those as a plot device.
Absolutely. And maybe, just maybe, there has been all this talk that Kunlun is undefended. Maybe the hand has gone in and killed everyone, or done whatever it is that they're going to do, or they've gone and stolen something that they need to steal, or whatever it is. Maybe, just maybe, this has all been going on in the background. Like, if, for example, this episode is bar the big boss, maybe the big boss has just gone to Kunlun whilst everyone else has been distracted. And maybe that's what we potentially see in episode 13.
Oh, I do. I like that. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of Davos does get back. The way is still open, but there's such destruction with not having an Iron Fist there that drives him to become the Steel Serpent or whatever.
Very good, John.
And this adds another layer of PTSD to poor Danny Rand.
I killed all my friends. The one bit I was questioning, but he kept mentioning father. I'm assuming that's their sensei. But is that actually Davos's father? Is the Thunderer?
Yes.
Right. Just want to make sure I wasn't. I was like, the way you go, father being it's like a priest, ceremonial, yes,
Right.
father, yes,
Yeah.
mother,
Yeah.
like for it's kind of as a title. But when you kept saying that, I was like, that's a bit weird. Like,
I know Davos had mentioned that in the last episode that they'd what was it they'd snuck out to see the girls bathing in the lake, and it turned out to be his father bathing in the lake. That's what had
naked,
happened. So yeah,
meditating, quote unquote, bunny ears. But I actually think the part about that is that's the element we haven't taken into account. The Thunderer did turn his back on Dany and walk away, whether it was in his mind or if we've discussed it, was this a kind of a psychic connection, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But as soon as he goes back and tells Davos goes back, and tells his father, the Thunderer, that Dany has abandoned Kunlun, agreed staying in New York to fight the Hand against it. It's almost like your stepson coming and going, well, thanks for all the money and all the training, and I've taken your most precious family inheritance. Bye.
Yeah, absolutely. Or to John's point, maybe Davos does go back to Kunlun and everybody's been slaughtered, including his father, the Thunderer, and that's what turns him against Dany more than anything else. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how this all kind of comes together.
Yeah, because it has been, this mystical city is just there that's continually about the threat, and maybe, just maybe, it's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
The chance has been taken.
They would have been really stupid to have not gone to Kunlun at this time if they have to wait another 15 years as the Hand, knowing that Dany is in New York.
Definitely. And it could have been that, Bakuto Gao, actually, it's an overall plan to distract.
Yeah.
And coming back to double crosses, we have another. That's a potential one, but we actually have another, which is Harold. I mean, Harold really, we've kind of suspected it, I'm sure, but he actually now takes it over and says, and now we've got to get rid of Dany Rand. So first it was, we need to get rid of Gao, then we need to get rid of Bakuto. Now that the Hand has been, or so he thinks, destroyed by the Iron Fist, of course, as far as we know it, they could both still be alive. It's now let's get rid of Dany, and we have this DEA bust at the dojo after a night of passion.
He's all in for bringing the Drug Enforcement Agency in, isn't he? He did that on his son, basically.
He did with cops.
Yeah, but he stuck some drugs in his car so the cops would get him. He's now sending the DEA out to get Colleen and Dany. He really does like some drug busting, doesn't he?
But are they the DEA?
Well, yeah, they look like Gao's men, is exactly what Colleen says.
We see Ward warn him about it, because now we see that Ward really, it's another way to undermine his father. And again, it's just the true colours of Harold Meacham coming out. I wonder whether Harold... Do you think he's the big bad?
It's really difficult to tell at this stage because he can't be. He was an underling for most of the series, and now effectively he's still kind of an underling just because Gao's been put in prison. It feels like we're kind of having a bit of a problem by the big boss.
Yeah, because his finger is back, and we've discussed this, and we don't know whether, Naboo is does have disfigurements. He has previous wounds. I'm just wondering if Harold could be like Chi Lin, because there is that element that he morphs into the big bad. We've already had the element of Zhou Cheng and saying he is a servant of Chi Lin.
Yeah.
He is an enemy of the Hand. Maybe the fact that his finger came back is because, generally it can form any shape that he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
So the regenerative aspect of revival may not be the case.
No, we don't know until we see someone else kind of because saying that now we don't know because he's been stabbed, and with that stab it looks like he still doesn't have a gaping wound inside. So it's maybe once you've been revived once, you can regrow.
That's what I mean. There's this whole revival process. We don't quite know what it does. All we know, it brings you back from the dead, but it does revitalize you in that sense, but does it grow back fingers or like heal burn tissue? So
do you kind of go back to your last save point kind of thing? We'll probably see it a little bit with Elektra,
maybe.
Because again, with Harold, we don't know. We know he was restored after he died, because obviously he died as a cancer victim, so he doesn't look like a cancer victim now. So he restored to that, but he wasn't missing a finger when he was revived, so therefore he's gone back to not missing a finger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do.
Is it possibly like that?
So it'd be interesting.
It really could be. So I just wanted to kind of talk about Ward. Do you guys agree with the redemption they've just given him? They've made Ward a good guy now. This for me, I was a bit... I didn't like it, okay?
Okay.
Now, just roll me. Ward could have been a great bad guy.
He still can be.
Just for... Well, not really. He's come full circle again. He was a bad guy. He was an okay guy doing bad things by his father. Because he has this fear of his father. Then he went full on crazy, and now he's looking out for Danny. He's really worried about his sister. He's becoming, they're trying this redemption arc piece for him, and I'm like, I would prefer to keep him as the psychotic crazy man and have that as a bad guy.
Okay,
with all the money.
I don't. That's exactly the way I'd see it. What Ward's done here is try to protect his sister, which he's has been trying to do for 12 years before the show even started, and the characters that we've been watching. And now he's sending a text to undermine his father's plan, more so than trying to protect Danny, I think.
Well, okay,
so the text has come in from Ward. It's not a phone call from him. We didn't see his reaction and why he's doing it, but it feels like it's just something to undermine his father's plan. It feels like he would almost do that with anybody else, not just Danny.
Absolutely. I think if they all head to the Winchester for a pint and wait it out there, and all happy, then I think, it would be a redemption thing, but it's what his motives. And at the moment, all we know is he sent him a warning text, and that could be absolutely at this stage to undermine Harold, and actually to get Harold out of the way. So it could actually be that it's not just to undermine Harold, it's to get Harold out of the picture so that him and Joy can effectively try and make sense of what's happened. But similarly, it could be a redemption, definitely.
Yeah, I don't want it to be a redemption. I like Ward as a bad guy.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be a bit of your enemy's enemy is my friend, and Danny's an enemy of Harold, as is Ward now.
Yeah, and I think Ward is not, again, it's not that traditional bad guy. It's kind of, he cares for his sister a lot, and he'll do anything, and sometimes that doesn't work out. I think with Harold, he's dealt with his abuse for too long, and his in effect his psychological bullying of him, and in having to keep the secret. So Ward isn't even now an out-and-out bad guy. Yes, he's killed someone, it's wrong, but he's snapped, and he's still dealing with that. So it'll be interesting to see how they take his character, because I think there's a few roads that it could take, definitely, of which becoming an out-and-out bad guy might be one of them.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it isn't redemption. I'm hoping he's still a bad guy, and that this was done to, as the PC said to his father, his father said to him, saying, "Oh, you remind me now so much of me when I was trying to take down my father." Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was hoping it was, and then I saw. Sorry, saying that after what you guys have said now, that's what I'm hoping it is. When I saw that text, I went, "Oh, they're trying to make him a good guy," and that's how I perceived it on my first watch. I'll have to watch it again now and kind of see where I take it from there. I don't want Ward to be that guy. I want Ward to be a bad guy. I want Ward to be the season 2 Meacham character from the comic books who is evil, who is a bad guy, but against it's a public figure.
I'm not too sure. I think to John's point, in my mind anyway, Ward has never been a bad guy. He's done bad things because he's been trying to get out of a situation that was absolutely impossible for anybody to experience and anybody to live. So I think he's done some bad things, But remember, he was trying to run away. He was trying to get in a flight and go away to some kind of vacation spot while everything
Tahiti.
blew over, wasn't it? Yeah, effectively. Tahiti, yes. But I don't think he's been a bad guy. I think he's been trying to save his sister. It's entirely possible that they will use him in that way again. If Joy becomes threatened again, he will do anything to save her, including doing things for bad people.
That's what I'm hoping for, because if Joy dies, he snaps.
Maybe, yeah.
And then, whose fault is this? This is all Harold
Uh-huh.
and Danny's. And he goes after both of them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe.
then by the big boss becomes Ward. And he is then well, they haven't announced it, but season 2 of Iron Fist, he can be the big boss.
Maybe. I love this. We're 12 episodes into a 13-episode season of Iron Fist, and we're still speculating about what might happen. Those are our top 5 points. I think it's time to get on to a couple of notes. There's a couple in this episode. One for me is just a quick one about that final moment with the DEA agents when Danny runs out of the dojo. He kicks one of them or pushes one of them with his foot, flips over and kicks him away. It's a fantastic move. Really, really enjoyed that. I'm going to steal Chris's episode title for this one because it seems to be kind of based on Bruce Lee's 1971 film Big Boss. I think that's where the reference is.
I would assume so.
Finally, this is what I was looking for all season. Where are all the other films easily named after the other moves that have happened throughout the season? This was a really easy one to find because it was in my head when I saw Bar the Big Boss. I was like, oh, Big Boss. Bruce Lee, awesome. So we got one.
Yeah, no, we got. I think we also got the Dragon Palm.
Yes.
Because that was obviously the move he did in the hallway. Mm-hmm. But yeah, not so much.
Not many of them this time.
I'll take one. Where's Stan?
Yeah, Stan the man. I think we've either missed him or he's gonna show up. In episode 13 now.
Yeah, it's either 13 but see, I'm assuming it's episode 13 because if we had missed him, our fellow defenders probably would have hung me out to dry.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's not been too much around the police in this, and that is generally where he's popped up in the other defenders.
That's right.
So unless when the cops arrested Ward, there was something... Maybe his friendly face, your friendly neighborhood cop, sort of on the back of the boot of the car, or something that we missed somewhere.
But we even commented on the fact that he didn't even land in the police station in that episode. He ended off directly in Burt Psychiatric, so they definitely avoided it, that episode.
Yeah, and the one thing, at least the one thing we know, it is police related because Captain Lee, or they're calling Sergeant Lee, as they're calling it, it's one or the other. That is his trademark for the Netflix universe. He's a police officer. That's usually a picture. He's been pictured twice in the police district, or in the precinct, I should say. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, in Luke Cage, we pointed out, because we were quite happy with ourselves, that in the shop there was a poster of Stan Lee in his cop uniform, kind of along the lines of "We need you," or "Neighborhood watch, stay safe," etc.
Yeah.
Pointing a finger, which was great. But yeah, that was that. I just wonder where's Stan. Hopefully, it's in episode 13. If not, it's in episode 13. I'm pretty sure.
Must be.
If it's not, I'm sorry. We're sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But fellow defenders, that's where you come in. Send us an email into feedback@defenderstvpodcast.com and tell us, or pop over in a Facebook group and let us know if we've missed it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've just got 2 notes. One is, I wonder if we'll see Gao in episode 13. I'm really hoping that we do. I kind of don't want the character to have been just left in Bakuto's compound without
weird.
food and water.
I can't go without food or water.
I really hope we see her involvement resolved, explained, or continued in episode 13. I'm slightly doubtful, but I think it'll be a real shame because she's threaded through this series a lot. And finally, just one: Davos or Davos? That is the question.
I know what you mean.
I'm presuming it's that one of the actors is from the south of England and one is from the north of England.
Right.
I say Davos like Davos says Davos. Whereas Finn Jones, Danny Rand says Davos.
He's posher.
He almost says
I think so.
He almost says Davos as if he's trying to pronounce something foreign that you think is much posher than you think it is. It's kind of like that. But I did notice that Davos actually corrected himself in one scene.
I didn't spot
and
that.
Turned it into Davos as well.
It could be the scone and scone of the Marvel Netflix universe.
It could be a scone.
El Chapo. He's like trying to be really Davoso.
Yeah,
Just call him the Big D.
Yeah.
And the Big Double D for Daredevil.
There you go.
I've got one final note which kind of closes off our notes section. In the last episode, we saw Colleen getting pulled under the underground of the compound. There was all the cages with the blood packs, and that's what we're going to do. We have to assume that her sacrifice, what would still aid the hand, was potentially to bring back Elektra.
Maybe,
If not Elektra, someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were powering up the urn again because there was full blood packs. The one cage we saw with the blood pack, it was full.
That's right, yeah.
So they had obviously pulled basically drained someone before. Could that be...
R.I.P. Daryl.
Yeah.
Poor Daryl.
He has been sacrificed for the greater good.
Yeah. Champion Kung Fu to blood bags.
Yeah.
Don't break your leg.
Rest in peace, 2017. Going out for our homie.
Actors probably don't do well in this city.
No, they really don't. So that's all of our notes, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, guys, I think it's time to decide, do we defend this episode of Iron Fist? Episode 12, Bar the Big Boss. So, John, do you defend this episode?
I do defend this episode of Iron Fist. I give this 4.5 blood-splattered joys out of 5. For me, I thought this was really well shot, real epic, actually. It had 3 masterful fight scenes in this. It really brought to head Colleen and Bakuto. It brought to head Davos and Danny, and it brought to head Ward, Joy, and Harold, and ultimately at the end Harold and Danny now, and. It was kind of like shifting sands, really, this whole episode, and it made it so exciting. Some of the locations that it was shot in, like the lobby of the penthouse, even just the Harold Meacham's apartment, and then under the arches there, I presume in Central Park, but I don't know, but in front of that fountain, absolutely fantastic. And all of this underlying so much of the character development of Danny Rand, which I really, really liked. And of course, just having that on the tip of your tongue of now, who is this big boss? Mm-hmm. There are so many players here with the hand. Who is the palm, as we said in the last episode of the podcast?
Or the fist.
Or the fist. Or the pinky. Or the thumb. So I really, truly defend this. I think this is one of... I think this rates up there as one of my favourite episodes of the series so far. So absolutely defend this episode of Iron Fist.
Excellent.
With that, Christoph, do you defend this episode of Iron Fist?
I wholeheartedly do. I was expecting not to. As I was coming in, I thought this was going to be the end of... This was coming up towards the end of the season. I did not think they could turn it around in my head as much as they had. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be very open for our listeners. I've been thinking about this more and more, and this for me, unfortunately, has been one of the weakest, in my opinion, one of the weakest Netflix. But I've thought about and I've tried to figure out why. It's because we've been spoiled with 4 amazing other series as well. When you look past, if you forget about all the others, if this was the very first Marvel Netflix season we had of God, they introduced us to this universe with Iron Fist. Mm-hmm. This would have been amazing.
Absolutely.
Because it is. This episode is the best episode of the season. Yes, it is. That is fine. Because bar some pacing issues in other episodes, overall this was a fantastic season. So to date, 12 episodes in, I don't know, unless they turn around and do something terrible, like shocking bad in episode 13, I still love this now. Okay, it's not as bad, not as great as say Jessica Jones, or Daredevil season 1, but it's still amazing. Looking at particularly this episode in general, the fight scenes were amazing. Honestly, like the three very different fight scenes that have all stuck in my memory. The visitation element of Ward, and especially that offer given to him by Bakuto, the death of Bakuto, and I think I said this at the beginning, the Meacham, they've made me care now about the Meacham story arc. I was very cold, I liked it at the beginning, and I got really cold and got really annoyed. But, okay, yes, this should have been done earlier, but now that they've wrapped it up, I really, really enjoy it. And Harold's last word is, oh my god, that you never would want to hear your father say that to you.
Oh, absolutely.
At all. And the ending was good. We've had a discussion off air, myself and Derek, when we were outside one night, and we literally have said to each other, well, I said this to him, this could have been the end of the series. Can you imagine that the end of this season was them running into the distance? I thought that would potentially have been a fantastic ending. Just leaving everything in the air, just wait for the defenders. Derek, not so much.
No.
So we're still up and down on that. So fellow defenders, let me know what you think. But yes, I give this my highest praise of the season so far.
Very good.
But Derek, last but not least, and forever on the top with us, what do you think? Do you defend this episode of Iron Fist?
Absolutely defend this episode. There's so much cool stuff in here. These fight sequences were fantastic, really, really enjoyable. But you guys have said most of it before. I'm not going to repeat it. The one thing I will say is I'm shocked at episode 12 of season 1 of Iron Fist how many questions we have about what's going to happen in the next episode. This episode didn't set up a huge battle at the end. Danny and Colleen, what are they running towards carrying their weapons? Are they running towards Harold to kill him, to beat him up? Is that our end game on the last episode of the season? Every single other show had a big end game that the character was running off to fulfill. This doesn't feel like there is an end game because there's so many options. There's so many people they could be going after. There's so much other stuff to happen. So it feels like they've gotten to this point now. They've gotten to 12 episodes, and it is just echoing exactly what you guys said. It is one of my favorite episodes of the season. But it feels like they've got to episode 12 and they have enough story for another 10 episodes now.
Definitely.
100%.
You know, really, really enjoyable though. Thanks so much, guys, once again for your thoughts on this episode, and really great to chat through episode 12, the penultimate episode of Iron Fist.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Derek.
Mine if you're a dictator.
Nobody ever thanks me.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek.
Now get on with the feedback.
So we do have a little bit of feedback for this episode coming in from Jeff Childs. Another piece of audio feedback, which he sent in to us by email this time. He didn't use the website. So you can also do that if you want to send in your feedback to us. You got one more episode left to join the competition to win those lovely Funko Pops, a couple of t-shirts, including an Iron Fist Funko Pop, and a Defenders t-shirt, which is very cool. Just go onto our website at defenderstvpodcast.com and record 90 seconds of your thoughts, or send us an MP3 by email with your thoughts, just like Jeff did.
Hey guys, this is Jeff Childs from the Facebook group. I've just finished watching episode 12 and I'm about to watch 13. Before I do, I want to make a prediction. There are way too many storylines left to be wrapped up, especially with the hand, so I suspect that will carry over into the Defenders. And what I'm hoping to see is that the last scene in Iron Fist is Danny saying he needs help, and Claire saying, I know some people. And that would be a great lead into the Defenders. Looking forward to this last episode and for the Defenders later this summer. Keep up the great job, guys.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Yeah, that's absolutely a great way to end the season, isn't it? If you're going to carry on the hand part of the bad guys that have gone throughout all of the other shows, really, except for Jessica.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff, for that feedback. Definitely echoing what we're thinking here that there are so many different options, but absolutely love your thoughts on how it should end. I mean, there's definitely got to be that kind of setup. And yeah, in a sense, what we were saying before about there's so many options, you could have another 8 or 10 episodes, but we're getting them in August. Maybe Defenders is almost like an Iron Fist 2. With all the other Defenders coming in, obviously, but that it's a continuation of these shifting sands that we've seen in this series, which have also been obviously in Daredevil season 2 as well. This will be great to see. I'm really looking forward to episode 13 and the Defenders. Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. No, I completely agree with you on this one. I very much imagine this last scene is almost going to be like either the end of Age of Ultron or the end of, I forget which film it was, where you had Samuel Jackson talking about the Avengers. I think it was Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 1.
Yeah, literally all those years ago, where he goes, I have this idea for an initiative. And I think that is what we need to get. Or
the first appearance of Nick Fury in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Bum, bum, bum. Of course you remember that.
Yeah,
Or it's
such a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. And look how Samuel Jackson aged. Not at all. He is an LMD.
He's still a badass.
Oh, God, yeah.
Absolutely.
He would kick my ass. But yeah, no, I think I look forward to that. The only other potential piece, what we think it may happen as well, could we get Sigourney? Could Sigourney literally be, we just see a woman in high heels from behind, because that would basically have kept it quite elusive, so no one would have known about her character. I don't think we'll get a facial.
Why high heels? Can she not wear flats?
She's Sigourney Weaver. She can fight aliens. She can wear whatever she wants.
That's true.
But I think I just said high heels because then she kind of looks like, in the promo shots we've seen so far, she is quite well dressed. She is in almost like a Jerry Hogarth styled woman, and I think that's how it will work.
Thanks so much for your feedback, Jeff, and everybody else that sent us audio feedback throughout the season, and obviously written feedback. If you want to join us over on our Facebook group, where Jeff is, and I think Jeff is actually following along with us on our podcast. He's actually, I think, watching 2 episodes a week as we're releasing our episodes. So he hasn't watched episode 13. We're going to be watching that next week. Come join us over at our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Defenders TV podcast, or you can follow us on Twitter at DefendersCast.
And of course, you can join us on our podcast at defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes, or search Defenders TV Podcast in any other good podcast catcher. Of course, please, when you do, subscribe, and if you so wish, leave a review. That would be great.
100%. So, guys, I think that's the end of this episode. I think we're going off to
one more to go.
60 odd minutes, and we're nearly done.
We are going to your house to watch this on 4K, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, Chris? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No offense. Once you go 4K, you can't go back.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Your TV looks so small to me.
Okay.
It's like it's on my watch.
Patreon begins in 5. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time, fellow Defenders.
Yep, we'll be back for our season finale on Tuesday the 24th of April with Iron Fist. Season 1, episode 13, Dragon Plays with Fire.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, we will be with you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So then this woman came into the shop with high heels, and I was like going, is that Sigourney Weaver?
Or is it a man in high heels?
Or was it Tim Curry?
I think we should start off with our first point for this episode. Gotta be the visitations of the Lord.
The visitations of Wood, absolutely. I was trying to, work at your up in.
Not gonna happen now.
But he gets a friendly warning text off Ward. And, that's definitely the thing that happened. It is Ward.
That's everything happening. We know, we saw it.
That's the thing. That's an actual thing.
That's the thing that you put at the end of the episode, because we know that happened.
Yeah, so that's an actual thing that happened.
It's an actual thing. But we see...
So Derek, last but ever...
But ever least.
Yeah, that's right.
Everson?